welcome to the PlayStation 3 edition of Let's Build a Collection, the channel where I take you through games that you might find out at thrift stores or whatnot, or yard sales or other places. I don't frequent eBay, and I rarely pay retail prices, and I generally find all my games randomly, unless noted otherwise. I can't guarantee that every game here won't break the bank or be an absolute gem, but I'm always on the lookout for games that I'm going to actually play. That's the biggest criteria to being in my collection. So let's get started. First up, we've got a copy of Super Street Fighter 4. Now, in my copy, I only have a disc, no manual. Okay, so Super Street Fighter 4 on the PS3. Remember when fighting games were just about mashing buttons and hoping for the best? Yeah, this ain't that. I mean, you can mash your buttons and you'll probably win a round or two against someone who's never played before, but then you're going to run into a guy who's memorized a 17-hit combo and he can pull off a Shoryuken with his eyes closed while juggling flaming bowling pins, and then you're going to realize you've made a terrible mistake. It's like bringing a spork to a samurai sword fight. But hey, at least it looks pretty, right? So all those vibrant colors and over-the-top character designs are a feast for the eyes, even if your brain is screaming in frustration from this game. And when you do manage to pull off a cool move, it feels genuinely awesome. It's just that learning curve is steeper than Mount Everest, and I'm pretty sure I'm still at base camp with this game. And I've watched the YouTube tutorials. I've practiced for hours. I still can't reliably do a Hadouken. My special moves look more like special accidents, but you know what? I keep coming back for more. It's like an abusive relationship, but with fireballs. I both love and I hate this game. I mostly hate it, but a little bit of love. Okay, maybe I mostly love it. I don't really know. Just buy the thing, because you're either going to become a pro or you're going to join my support group for button mashing victims. Next up, we have Dungeon Siege 3 on the PS3. I have the disc and the manual with this one. So, what about Dungeon Siege 3? So, gather around, you weary travelers, and listen to my tale of adventure, or misadventure, if you will, depending on how you look at it. So today we're going to delve into the mystical, the magical, the mildly mediocre world of Dungeon Siege 3 on the PS3. It's like that one friend who's really enthusiastic about something, but they're not quite sure what that something is. They're just gesturing vaguely, adventure! And you're like, yeah, but what kind of adventure? And they just wink and point slightly at their slightly dusty sword. That's Dungeon Siege 3. What about the story? Oh, there's a story, all right. Kingdom fractured, evil queen, because of course, a chosen hero, because duh. And it's like they took all the fantasy tropes, threw them in a blender, and then poured the resulting smoothie into a disc and called it a game. Don't get me wrong, I love a good fantasy trope as much as the next person, but this is like trope overload. It's like they're playing fantasy bingo and shouting trope every 5 minutes. And the combat, serviceable. You hack, you slash, you occasionally use a special ability. It's like button mashing with a thin veneer of strategy. And the classes, they're present, I guess. You've got your beefy warrior, a nimble rogue, another beefy warrior, but with a different hat. Maybe the classes aren't that different. And there's loot! Yeah, because what's an action RPG without an endless stream of slightly shinier swords and slightly less practical armor? You'll be drowning in loot, most of which you'll just sell for a pittance. It's like the game is saying, here, have some stuff. It's mostly useless, but hey, it's stuff. So is Dungeon Siege 3 good? Is it bad? I think it exists. It's like that lukewarm cup of coffee that you find in the morning. It's not great. It's not terrible. It's just there. So if you're desperate for an action RPG and you've already played everything else, then maybe just maybe, give Dungeon Siege 3 a try. But don't say I didn't warn you on this one. You've been warned. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go play a good game. Or maybe just stare at the wall. It'll probably be more engaging than this. Next up, we have the game Sorcery for the PS3. This one does require the move. So if you have one of those, this is a game for you. Yeah, we've got Sorcery here. We've got the disc and the manual in this one. So Sorcery. Now the premise is simple enough here. You're Finn. You're a sorcerer's apprentice. Emphasis on apprentice, because you're basically the magical equivalent of a barista in training, but instead of a latte, you're flinging fireballs, hopefully. You'll understand why in a minute here. The big selling point, though, motion controls, because who doesn't want to flail their arms around like a possessed scarecrow while trying to cast a simple levitation spell? The story? That's a real barn burner here. Evil queen, kidnapped princess, chosen one, the usual suspects. It's like they raided the fantasy cliche warehouse and just threw everything at the wall. But hey, at least the world that they built is pretty. It's like someone took a unicorn and a rainbow and then vomited them onto your TV screen. In a good way, mostly. The environments are actually quite lovely, and you'll probably spend more time admiring the scenery than paying attention to the plot, which, let's be honest, is probably for the best here. Now, let's talk about the magic, because that's what this game is all about, right? Magic. You're going to wave your PlayStation Move controller around like you're trying to swat flies, and sometimes spells happen. It's a bit like trying to teach a cat to do algebra, though. Occasionally they're going to surprise you, but mostly you're just going to end up frustrated. When the motion controls work, it's pretty darn cool. There's a certain satisfaction in hurling a well-aimed fireball at a goblin's face. But when they don't work, let's just say you might find yourself questioning your own magical aptitude. And also maybe the sanity of the game developers. So is Sorcery magical? It's debatable. Is it entertaining? Sometimes. Is it likely to make you look like a fool in front of your friends? Certainly will. Next up is Lost Planet Extreme Condition. There we have a disc and we have a manual, a little tear in the manual, but who cares? Close that up here. So Lost Planet Extreme Condition on the PS3. Yeah, it's a game where you're dropped onto a frozen wasteland and you're told to fight giant alien bugs. Sounds like a typical Tuesday, right? You play Wayne, a guy with a serious case of amnesia and a burning desire to avenge his father. Because, you know, that's how amnesia works. You forget everything except the burning desire for revenge. Makes perfect sense. The story, it's there. Let's just say it's not exactly Shakespeare. It involves giant bugs, a mysterious energy source called thermal energy, or T-Eng, and a whole lot of shouting. But honestly, you're not playing Lost Planet for the riveting narrative. You're here for the giant bug fights, and boy, does this game deliver on that front. These acrid, the giant bugs, they're massive, grotesque, and surprisingly resilient. Taking them down requires strategy, patience, and a whole lot of firepower. Now the gameplay revolves around shooting, grappling, and collecting that T-Eng. Because apparently, in the future, alien bugs' guts are the best source of energy. Who knew? You'll be zipping around the landscape, grappling on the giant acrids, blasting them with everything you've got. It's chaotic, it's over the top, and it's often incredibly frustrating. The controls can be a bit clunky, and the difficulty spikes are steeper than a Himalayan mountain range. But when you finally manage to take down a massive acrid, it's a feeling of pure, unadulterated triumph. So, is Lost Planet a masterpiece of storytelling? Absolutely not. Is it a fun, albeit frustrating romp through a frozen wasteland filled with giant bugs? You bet your thermal energy it is. Final game in the series is Brothers in Arms, Hell's Highway. This copy does have a disc and a manual. So Brothers in Arms, Hell's Highway. Picture this, World War II. But instead of just running and gunning like every other Tom, Dick, and Harry, you're actually like thinking about what you're doing. You're Sergeant Matt Baker. You're leading your squad through the treacherous Operation Market Garden. Think less Call of Duty and more Call of Duty, but with a slight headache from all your tactical thinking. The story, it's gritty, it's realistic, it's another World War II story. But this one tries to focus on the human cost of war. The fear, the questionable facial hair. You'll get to know your squad mates, or at least you'll get to know their names before they inevitably get blown to bits. It's a sobering reminder that war is hell, even when you're playing a video game about it. The gameplay is all about squad-based tactics. You're not Rambo, you're a leader. You'll be ordering your men around, flanking enemies, suppressing fire, the whole shebang. It's a refreshing change of pace from a usual run and gun formula, but it can also be a bit finicky. Sometimes your squad mates will listen to you, and sometimes they'll just stand there staring blankly, like they're trying to remember where they parked their Jeeps. It's a bit like herding cats, except the cats are armed and shooting at Nazis. So is Brothers in Arms, Hell's Highway, a tactical masterpiece? Not quite. Is it a unique and engaging take on World War II genre? Definitely. But just be prepared to occasionally yell at your screen, "Move, damn you, move!" So what have you played here? Have you found any of these out in the wild? I'd love to hear your thoughts on these titles, and I invite you to come back and check out another 5 games as we work together to build a collection. If you've enjoyed the content and you want to see what else is in my collection, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel to help build a community. And thanks for watching, and may the frames be high and your pings be low. God, I hope my therapist isn't watching this.